Hey everyone, it's Celeste. I am out here working in my yard. It is November. We're getting pretty close to Thanksgiving here in the United States, and I am in the backyard just kind of doing some maintenance. And I thought this would be a quick little, good video for me to share. So I'm going to talk in this video about what you do for pests, and some of the things that I'm looking for as I'm in my late fall garden, especially as I'm dealing with aeoniums, but I have other kinds of plants in here. Part of what I am doing is I'm just going through and I'm making sure that I'm getting rid of a lot of the leaves that have come in. So I'm getting rid of anything that's going to cause moisture. So you can see there's some leaves and stuff like that, and the main thing is just to get it off of the plant so that I don't have to worry about rot. But it's also because that's what pests like to hide in. They love those leaves that are just sitting and look yucky on some of the plants. Earlier this year I had a really bad mealybug attack, so you can see some of the plants are recovering, so they don't look great, right? They're not in the happiest state, that one in particular. But then also this one, you can see they just kind of look ravaged, by now, especially because with aeoniums we're coming out of the dormancy season. With the cooler weather, these guys should just be going crazy, and you can see clearly that this poor little guy, let's see what its name is, purple flame voodoo, is still struggling a little bit, and that's just because of that pest attack. So the plant will recover, it's okay, but I also want to make sure that I'm coming out here and I'm just helping. So this was some of the plants that were really having a hard time. So what I'm doing is, again, on top of removing a lot of the leaves and making sure that there's that airflow, but there's also not a place for these pests to hide, is I'm going in and I'm checking to see if I can find anything, any of the mealybugs, and then I'm also spraying. The spray that I use, it's basically just a little spray bottle. It's just a home concoction. It's an overcast day, so that's the first thing you want to think about. Do not spray the formula that I'm about to tell you on any of your plants if it is sunny weather. You will burn them. And I highly recommend, if you're going to spray them, do it at night, so that they actually have overnight to be able to handle what you just did to them. So it's 1 part of isopropyl alcohol. I'm using the 70% strength, and then it is 3 parts of water. I put a little bit of dishwashing, Dawn. It's like the lemon variety of Dawn dishwashing soap. It's just like a tiny little bit inside of there, and I'll explain in a second why. And then the last thing I am also spraying it with is just, that I add into it is just like a couple drops of the peppermint oil. So the isopropyl alcohol, what it does is when you have a soft-bodied pest like a mealybug, what it does is it hits the mealybug and then it immediately kills them. You can also, if you have a really bad infestation and you have a lot of time on your hands, you can also go in with Q-tips and you can use clear up to like 90% strength, but you're just applying it. You're being very judicious about how you're applying it with the Q-tip. If you're wanting to spray, then I would recommend that you dilute it down, just because it's hard on the plant. It's going to be hard. You're putting aerobic alcohol on the plant, right? So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge for them. So you just want to make sure that you're thinking that through. So that's the first part of it. That's why I have the alcohol in there. The water is just to dilute it down. I put the little bit of soap in there, because what can happen is the minute that the water hits the surface of the mealybug, it has like a waxy surface on it, and so what it'll do is it'll try to repel the water. That's just the way they're designed. And so when you put the soap on there, what it does is that little squirt inside, it actually allows it to stick to the mealybug. So now the alcohol is basically stuck to the mealybug. So again, it's just, think of it like a carrier system for being able to kill off those bugs. And then the little bit of peppermint, the reason why is because I have nighttime critters that like to chew on some of my plants. So as I'm going through, I am just, kind of misting them with some of that peppermint oil, and then that is helping to I would say it isn't like a total prevention, but it's dissuading them from thinking that they need to be snacking on some of my plants. I do have dogs, so I have to dilute that down greatly. It's not something that I'm putting in any level of, strength. If you ever have peppermint oil, do not let dogs or cats near that, at full strength. That's just a really, really, really bad thing to do. And we like our little pets, and we want to keep them around. So it'll cause kidney failure and all sorts of other bad things for them. So, but again, I'm just trying to convince these guys not to do it. If I'm having a really hard time, I can even put cayenne pepper inside of the spray bottle. That also helps with discouraging them from attacking the plants. So anyway, you can see there's this little white bit of fluff right there. That is a mealybug, and this is a Fred Ives. And so I'm not surprised that it's on there, because this is one of the plants that it likes to attack a lot. And you can actually see where I've been losing some of the leaves, and that's because of that stupid mealybugs in there. So that's what you're looking for. You're looking for that little white fluffy stuff like that. Let's see if I can get any closer to that so you can see it. So I'm spraying them, right, just to kill that off. As soon as I spray them, it'll help. You need to coat the plant from one end to the other, so it's not going to work if you just kind of spray over the top. So you can see this. Here's my sprayer, right? So I'm not just going to hit the front part of this. I'm actually going to go behind like this and spray up from the bottom as well. So you do the top like that, spray over the top of the plant, but go up from the bottom as well, sides, the crevices, wherever those little suckers can hide. You're going to want to go in there and then spray up again from the underneath, because that's what they like to do, is they like to hide from you. So it's not going to do you any good if you aren't spraying up from the underneath part. In my experience, they like the aeoniums that look like this. They got the purple leaves. That's why I'm not surprised all of these guys were getting nailed really hard, because for some reason they're attracted to those. I don't know why. I've seen them on some of the other ones, and they're like that are more greenish and that maybe don't have as much purple color on them, but they really go after those guys. And then they also Fred Ives, has that purplish color. These guys get nailed, these little echeverries all the time. Like, they're just constantly going after those kind of plants. And so so that's what I'm doing. So yeah, that's my little chore today, is I'm just coming out. I just pick little areas of the garden. I can start pulling some of these leaves out and getting some of this gook out of here. Plus it just makes the yard look really, really nice with some of these arrangements that I've got. And then I'm coming in and I'm spraying the plants with the stuff, just so that I can help them, so that they can fight off any infestation or anything that's bad. I should also mention too that I also put in systemic. Systemic, I use systemic granules. These kind of plants do not bloom, especially this time of year. So I'm gonna use a lot of that, right? Inside, you just put it in the base of the soil basically, and then as the plant is growing, it will absorb that up from inside of the roots, and then it makes the plant's part toxic for any bugs that are biting on it. One thing to remember about the systemics, though, if you do use them, you want to be careful. So some of these plants that do bloom, right, I would want to come out and cut off those blooms, because otherwise if any bees or beneficial insects actually land on them, it'll end up killing them too. So use the systemic carefully. I was having such a bad infestation for these guys that I had to come out and I had to use that systemic just to help out. So they just needed a little bit more of a boost, and so I've been keeping an eye on it and making sure I'm cutting off those blooms. So that's the little tip I just wanted to share with you. If you haven't, if you were cocky like I was my first couple of years I did not have a lot of pests in the yard, and I thought, oh, I must be doing something just so awesome because I'm not getting any pests. And everybody kept talking about mealies and how awful they were, and I'm thinking, I haven't had any of that going on. What are you talking about? Yeah, they find you. It's almost like they can hear you doing that, and then they mount an attack as revenge because you were basically voicing that. So one, don't voice that out loud where they can hear you, and the second is it's just a matter of time. You need to have these items on hand because once it starts, you want to catch it as fast as possible. So I will, in the description of the video, I will put in there what is, you know, basically the ratio that I use, and you know, give you the reasons why I'm adding those things in, and some links to some of the stuff where you can find it on Amazon. The other is, like I said, again, you can use the 90% if you were, you know, you just wanted to sit there with a Q-tip. If you're an indoor grower, for example, and you have them isolated in pots, that's definitely what you can do. The other is that you also can isolate the plant to prevent it from going someplace else. Because I have all of my plants outside, obviously that's not even close to an option. So I just had to come up with other ways I was going to solve the problem, and that's some of what I've done. Okay, so I hope everyone is having a good November wherever you are in the world, and however your weather is turning. I'm enjoying the fact that a lot of my aeoniums are starting to come out and look just absolutely amazing. You can see how beautiful some of these are getting now, right? These colors are just absolutely gorgeous that are starting to come out. So my absolute favorite, I do love aeoniums. I hate them during the summertime because they don't look as pretty as they do right now because they're dormant. But as they come out of dormancy, then, you know, rapidly becomes my favorite. So I'm always, you know, telling people how much I love aeoniums, and then it comes to summertime, or it comes to, you know, the hot weather, and then I just don't like them as much because they don't look as good. I kind of shift to cactus, and then, you know, it goes back to aeoniums as soon as the fall kicks in. Okay, I hope again you're having a great November if you're in the United States. Happy early Thanksgiving, and hopefully this video has been helpful with what to do for some of the pest prevention and dealing with pests. Thanks so much.